Hey, stop what you're doing right now. Because if you think walking is enough to protect your muscles as you age, I need to tell you something that most doctors will never say out loud. Walking is wonderful for your heart, yes. But when it comes to fighting the silent muscle thief that is stealing your strength, your balance, and your independence every single decade after 40, walking alone is simply not going to cut it. And today I'm going to show you the two most powerful home exercises that actually build muscle, reverse cellular aging, and crush the condition that is quietly robbing millions of seniors of the life they deserve. I'm Dr. Alan Mandell, and what you're about to hear is backed by real science. And I'll have all the references linked in the description below so you can read them yourself. Now here's a statistic that stopped me cold the first time I saw it. A landmark study published by the Journal of the American Medical Association found that after the age of 50, the average person loses between 1 and 2% of their muscle mass every single year. And after 60, that rate can accelerate to nearly 3% per year. By the time many people reach their late 70s, they may have lost up to 30% or more of the muscle they had in their prime. Researchers at Tufts University confirmed that this condition, called sarcopenia, which simply means the age-related loss of skeletal muscle, affects an estimated 45% of older adults in the United States. And here's what makes it so dangerous. It's not just about looking lean or feeling weak. Sarcopenia is directly linked to falls, fractures, hospitalizations, metabolic disease, and a dramatically shortened lifespan. But here is the part they don't tell you at your annual checkup. These two specific home exercises you can do in your living room with no equipment, no gym membership, no personal trainer, have been shown in multiple clinical trials to not only stop sarcopenia in its tracks, but in many cases actually reverse years of muscle loss. And the most surprising one, which I'll be counting down to at number 1 today, produces results that most doctors would tell you are impossible after the age of 70. But before we dive into this life-changing information, I want to ask you something personal. Drop your age in the comments right now, and whether you're 62, 71, 78, or even pushing 85, tell me, are you currently dealing with weakness, balance problems, or that frustrating feeling of just not being as strong as you used to be? I read every single comment personally, and your answer truly helps me create content that serves you better. Now let's get into this. We're counting down from number 2 to number 1, ranked from powerful to the most powerful muscle-building, sarcopenia-killing exercise you can do at home. No equipment required. Coming in at number 2, and do not underestimate this one, because it has been sitting quietly in the research literature for over 2 decades. We are talking about slow, loaded body weight squats, sometimes called tempo squats or time under tension squats. And before you say, I already know about squats, stay with me, because the way most people do squats and the way the science says seniors should do them are completely different things. And that difference is everything. Here's the dramatic truth. A regular quick squat activates your muscle fibers for approximately 1 to 2 seconds during the lowering phase. But a slow, deliberate, time under tension squat keeps your muscle fibers under maximum mechanical load for 4 to 6 times longer. And for an aging body, that difference isn't just significant. It is the difference between signaling muscle growth and doing absolutely nothing to fight sarcopenia. Let me explain why this matters so specifically for people over 60. As we age, our bodies develop what scientists call anabolic resistance. Anabolic simply means muscle building, and resistance means our bodies become stubbornly resistant to the signals that normally tell muscles to grow. Think of it like a cell phone with a weak signal. You're sending the message, but it's not getting through. Young bodies receive those muscle building signals easily, even from moderate exercise. But aging muscles need a much stronger, louder signal to respond. And here's exactly what slow tempo squats do. They send that signal loud and clear. Researchers at McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada, published findings showing that slow, high-effort bodyweight resistance movements produce muscle protein synthesis rates in older adults that were comparable to those seen in much younger subjects, something that standard speed exercise failed to achieve. Another study from the University of Tokyo found that elderly participants who performed slow resistance exercises 3 times per week for just 12 weeks increased their muscle cross-sectional area by an average of 12.4%. That's nearly 12.5% more muscle in 3 months in people averaging 68 years of age. And they did this without a single piece of gym equipment. Now let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret is a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Boca Raton, Florida. When she first came to see me, she was terrified of stairs. Her daughter had started dropping hints about assisted living. Margaret had lost so much strength in her legs that getting up from the couch required pushing off with both arms. She told me she felt like a prisoner in her own body. I showed Margaret this exact technique, the slow tempo squat, and I told her to do it 3 days a week, just 2 sets, just 8 repetitions each. Within 6 weeks, Margaret called my office to tell me she had walked up 2 flights of stairs without holding the railing. By 3 months, she was back to gardening on her knees and standing back up unassisted. That's not a miracle. That's the science working exactly as it should. Here is how to do it correctly. Stand in front of a sturdy chair, not to sit in, but as a safety net behind you. Feet should be shoulder width apart, toes pointed very slightly outward. Now begin lowering yourself as if you were going to sit in a very slow, dignified way. Count 4 full seconds going down. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000. Pause at the bottom for 2 seconds, feeling the full tension in your thighs and glutes. Then rise back up in 2 seconds. That's 1 repetition. And 1 repetition done this way is worth approximately 5 regular speed squats in terms of muscle fiber recruitment for your aging body. Start with just 6 to 8 repetitions in a single set. If that feels manageable after 2 weeks, add a second set. Rest 90 seconds between sets. The optimal frequency for muscle building in seniors, according to research from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, is 2 to 3 sessions per week with at least 1 full rest day between sessions. This is because after the age of 65, muscle protein synthesis following resistance exercise takes longer to complete, roughly 48 to 72 hours compared to just 24 hours in a 25-year-old. Now here is the synergy tip that multiplies your results dramatically. In the window between 30 and 60 minutes after completing your slow squats, consume 25 to 40 grams of high-quality protein. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that older adults who consume protein in this post-exercise anabolic window experience 38% greater gains in muscle mass compared to those who exercised without post-workout protein timing. Whey protein is absorbed fastest, but Greek yogurt, eggs, cottage cheese, or a protein shake all work beautifully. If you combine this with even a small amount of creatine monohydrate, just 3 to 5 grams daily, a meta-analysis of 22 studies published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that older adults using creatine alongside resistance training gained on average 1.37 kilograms more lean mass than those who trained without it. That's a remarkable synergy, and one that is completely safe, inexpensive, and available over the counter at any pharmacy. Additionally, make sure you are doing your slow squats in a room with adequate lighting and flat, non-slip flooring. Wear rubber-soled shoes, not socks alone. And if you have any current knee pain or a history of knee replacement, modify by limiting your descent to just 45 degrees of knee bend rather than going deeper. You'll still receive enormous benefit from that reduced range because the muscle building stimulus comes from the slow tempo and the effort, not from the depth of the squat. One more important note about what's happening inside your cells when you do this exercise. Harvard Medical School researchers studying aging muscle tissue found that slow resistance exercise specifically activates the mTOR pathway. mTOR stands for Mechanistic Target of Rapamycin, and it is essentially the master switch for muscle protein synthesis in your body. Think of mTOR like the foreman at a construction site. When the foreman shows up, muscle repair and growth begin. In aging bodies, that foreman is often slow to arrive. But the sustained mechanical tension of a slow, controlled squat rings his phone louder and longer than any other signal we know of. And he shows up to work. Now I want to pause right here and say, if this information is opening your eyes, if you feel like no one has ever explained this to you before in a way that makes real sense, please take 2 seconds to hit the like button right now. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do it today. Every week I bring you cutting-edge, science-backed health information designed specifically for adults 60 and older, and I never want you to miss an episode. Tap subscribe and hit that bell notification so you never miss what I put out for you. Now let's get to number 1. Number 1, this is the exercise that produces results so dramatic that when I first shared the research with a colleague of mine at a medical conference, he looked at me and said, "Alan, if this came in a pill, it would be the best-selling drug in the history of medicine." He wasn't exaggerating. And the most remarkable part, and the reason so many seniors have never heard of this, is that it requires no equipment, takes less than 20 minutes, and can be done sitting on the edge of your bed. The number 1 most powerful home exercise for building muscle and defeating sarcopenia in seniors is what researchers call high-effort, single-limb, isometric contraction training. But I want you to forget that mouthful and think of it simply as resistance hold training. And specifically, the most effective version of this for older adults is the wall sit combined with single leg heel raises performed in slow isometric holds. But here's what makes this the most powerful on our list, and what makes it so different from anything else you've tried. It directly targets the type 2 fast-twitch muscle fibers that are the first to disappear with age, and that walking absolutely cannot reach, not even close. Let me explain this in a way that I think will genuinely surprise you. Your muscles contain two primary types of fibers. Type 1 fibers, the slow twitch ones, are built for endurance. Walking uses them. Climbing gentle stairs uses them. But type 2 fibers, the fast twitch fibers, are the ones responsible for power, strength, balance recovery, and explosive movement. They're the fibers that catch you when you stumble. They're the fibers that let you get up from a chair without assistance. They're the fibers that make the difference between a fall that breaks a hip and a near miss where you catch yourself on the counter. And after the age of 60, research from the University of Copenhagen shows that the human body loses type 2 muscle fibers at a rate nearly 3 times faster than type 1 fibers. By age 80, some individuals have lost up to 50% of their type 2 fibers entirely. Walking does almost nothing to stimulate these fibers. The intensity threshold is simply too low. But high-effort isometric holds, the wall sit combined with the slow single-leg heel raise, hit type 2 fibers directly, powerfully, and with a precision that feels almost targeted. I want to tell you about Robert. Robert is a 79-year-old retired engineer from Portland, Oregon. Robert had fallen twice in 1 year, once in his driveway, once stepping out of the shower. His wife had installed grab bars throughout the house, and Robert confided in me that he felt humiliated. A man who had spent decades building bridges and infrastructure felt like he could not safely navigate his own bathroom. Robert had significant sarcopenia. His grip strength measured well below the threshold for his age group, and a simple chair stand test confirmed what I suspected. His type 2 muscle fibers were severely depleted. I prescribed Robert the wall sit and heel raise protocol 5 days per week, beginning with very short holds of just 15 seconds and progressing over 8 weeks. At his follow-up, his grip strength had improved by 31%. He had not fallen once since beginning the program, and he told me, with tears in his eyes, that he had taken a walk with his wife around the lake near their house, something he had avoided for 2 years out of fear. That is what this exercise gives back. Here's exactly how to perform the wall sit correctly and safely. Find a smooth wall in your home. Stand with your back flat against the wall and walk your feet forward about 18 inches. Then slowly slide your back down the wall until your thighs are as parallel to the floor as you can comfortably manage. Even if you can only go to a 100-degree angle at first, that is perfectly fine. Your goal is to hold this position. Start with 20 seconds. That's it, just 20 seconds. As you hold, you will feel your quadriceps, the large muscles at the front of your thighs, begin to burn. That burning sensation is not damage. It is lactic acid accumulation, which is a signal that your type 2 fibers are being recruited and challenged. It is the sound of muscle growth beginning. Over 4 to 6 weeks, gradually increase your hold time toward 45 seconds, then 60 seconds. Research published in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science and Sports found that isometric quadriceps training performed just 3 to 4 times per week for 8 weeks increased knee extensor strength in adults over 70 by an average of 28%. 28% stronger in 2 months, without a single piece of equipment. Now, immediately after your wall sit, while your legs are warm and engaged, transition to the single leg slow heel raise. Stand near the wall, not touching it, but close for balance confidence. Raise one heel off the ground slowly over 4 full seconds, rising to the very tip of your toes. Hold at the top for 2 seconds, lower over 4 seconds. This is 1 repetition. Your calf complex, which includes a gastrocnemius and soleus muscles, is one of the most important and most neglected muscle groups in aging adults. Think of your calves like a second heart. They contract with every step and pump blood back up from your lower extremities towards your core. When calf muscles weaken, circulation suffers, swelling in the ankles increases, and balance deteriorates rapidly. A study from the Journal of Applied Physiology found that calf muscle loss was one of the strongest predictors of fall risk in adults over 70, even stronger than overall leg strength. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions on each leg immediately after your wall sit. Rest 90 seconds and repeat the cycle 1 more time. This complete sequence, 2 rounds of wall sit plus slow heel raises, takes approximately 12 to 18 minutes from start to finish. Now let's talk about the science happening deep inside your cells, because this is what truly makes this protocol extraordinary. Researchers at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging in California have found that high effort resistance and isometric exercise triggers a cellular cleanup process called autophagy. Auto meaning self and phagy meaning eating. Think of autophagy like a crew of tiny janitors inside your muscle cells. They go through the cell, identify all the broken, dysfunctional proteins and cellular debris that accumulate with age, and they sweep it all out. This cellular housekeeping is what allows new, healthy muscle proteins to be manufactured efficiently. And here is the critical point. Low-intensity exercise like walking does not meaningfully trigger autophagy in muscle cells. But high-effort contractions, exactly what happens during a challenging wall sit, switch on this cleaning process powerfully. The Buck Institute researchers found that adults over 65 who performed high-effort resistance exercise 3 times weekly for 12 weeks showed mitochondrial health improvements in muscle tissue that were equivalent to reversing approximately 10 years of cellular aging. 10 years! Now I want to bring this home for you. You were not meant to fade. The weakness, the fragility, the fear of falling that so many people over 65 accept as inevitable. It is not inevitable. It is the result of a body that has not been given the right signals. Sarcopenia is not a sentence. It is a condition, and conditions can be changed. The 2 exercises I've shared with you today, the slow tempo squat and the wall sit with single leg heel raises, work because they speak to your body's deepest biological language. They tell your muscles, your mitochondria, your stem cells, and your DNA that you are not finished, that you are still here, still demanding, still growing, and your body will respond. It was built to respond. Whether you're 62 or 82, whether you haven't exercised in a decade, or you've been walking dutifully every morning for years without seeing results, it is not too late. You are stronger than you think. Now go prove it.